Merry Christmas. Around this time of year, I always try to look for stories that illustrate the meaning of Christmas. Sometimes, given the way that the world is, I don't always find anything very compelling. But this year, a friend of mine named Artie Hartzell, who lives in Waynesville, North Carolina, shared a story on Facebook that truly moved me. And I thank Artie for sharing the story and their deep reflections on it, as well as giving me permission to share it with you today on Christmas Eve. They begin the story like this. It was late Saturday night into early Sunday morning, and I was driving 2.5 hours home from my friend's Hanukkah gathering in Charlotte back to Waynesville, North Carolina. At 3 a.m., I pulled into a gas station to fill my tank and grab something to drink. I finished pumping gas and headed inside, where I passed a young woman, maybe in her mid-20s, wearing a Carhartt-type work jacket with a hood pulled over her head, smoking a cigarette and shivering in the cold. I greeted her, knowing that she might ask me for something. When she realized that I was going to acknowledge her, she timidly asked if I had any cash on me. Truthfully, I said, "I don't, but I'll see if I can get some when I check out inside. If I can't, is there anything else that I can get for you?" She shook her head. "No, I have an EBT card." So I said, "Okay, I hear you, but is there something that you want that I can grab for you that your benefits don't cover?" She got a little frustrated, like I didn't understand. "I can grab you whatever I want," I said. She responded, "What I really need are some prenatal vitamins and a blanket." Suddenly, I realized that she was 5 to 7 months pregnant. They don't have the things she needs at a convenience store in a small rural town. None of the other stores were open around to get them either. "Okay, let me see if I can get some cash," I said. I grabbed my drink and asked the cashier if I could get some cash. She said no, but told me where the ATM was. When I walked outside to go to the ATM to get cash, the girl was gone. Artie says, as a social worker who has worked with many people in their most difficult moments, so much was running through my mind as I drove home that night. I thought about the fact that it was 25 degrees and would be single digits in a few nights. I thought about the fact that there are a lack of services in that small rural town. There was only one shelter that she would be eligible for, but she might have missed the early afternoon intake period, or may have already been full when she arrived, or she may have been too scared to go there 5 months pregnant. I thought about all the churches in the area, at least a couple hundred in the town alone. What if each supported one person who's trying to get back on their feet? I thought about people who often vote casually against public welfare or against health care, or criminalize the poor and vulnerable in desperate circumstances. I thought about people who might care more about her if she was walking into a clinic than they would if she's standing freezing in the cold. I thought about people who might judge her for smoking even though it was what's keeping her warm, or people who might tell her to get a job even if she already had one. I thought about people who might cast her off without any empathy to the trauma she may have faced in her life, or without any curiosity about how she came to this point. I thought about people who might pay thousands to adopt this mom's baby before offering her any kind of support, or how Child Protective Services would be on her case without offering any real options. I thought about how many anti-poor laws are being passed, laws preventing people from feeding the unhoused and hungry folks in public, or anti-loitering ordinances requiring people to move around continuously, or the destruction of tent cities where people are striving to eke out a precarious life. My friend Artie said, "I don't know, seeing her reminded me of a certain young mother, one named Mary with nowhere to go, living under an oppressive government, hiding from the rulers of the time to keep her baby." I thought about how we increasingly fail to recognize the humanity and the divinity in each other, and how we fail to recognize God in each other's faces, how we become so increasingly individualistic and indifferent to each other when we were created to be interdependent. Artie said, most of us have heard the story of the birth of Jesus our whole lives, and yet for some reason, we still can't figure out how to create a place for all the young mothers of the world to be. She ends her remarks, this story, by saying, I hope she gets what she needs. It's going to be 5 degrees Friday. On this cold morning, we remember the story of the birth of Jesus, the story of God taking on flesh, coming into the world to be with us as Emmanuel, so we might learn what it means to be with each other. Jesus is the one who showed up for everybody, rich and poor, tax collectors, sex workers and sinners, Pharisees, Sadducees, Samaritans, Jews and Greeks, male and female and non-binary, Roman and barbarian, even Caesar and his soldiers. Christmas is about the birth of the one who shows up and said, I am here for everybody. God is here for everybody, absolutely everybody. And I am here to start a movement of people who love everybody. But in order to love everybody, we're going to have to start from the bottom up and from the outside in. Outside of Rome and Jerusalem, outside the seats of power in small towns like Bethlehem, in fields with shepherds and day laborers and essential workers, poor, unknown, pregnant teenage girls, a fiance who never says a word, a tiny, defenseless little child born in a manger. Every Christmas, God says to us again, do you want to join me in a movement of love and peace for everybody? A movement that works to ensure that no one being crushed by the weight of oppression is ever standing alone outside, freezing in the cold, forgotten and forsaken. A movement that seeks to make a better world where there is no more oppression. If the answer is yes, then the start begins by recognizing each other's humanity, the divinity in each other's faces, seeing God in each other's lives, refusing to be indifferent to the plight of our neighbor, striving to offer compassion wherever we can. We can start by changing our perspective to ensure that we always see God whenever they are standing outside a gas station. We start by working from the bottom up and from the outside in with the people who've been forgotten and forsaken by the empire. We start by continuing to work along with God and each other to build this movement of love and peace for everybody, everyone. Because if we can do that, then Christmas really will become good news of great joy for all people. Amen. And Merry Christmas.